I supported my friend through her struggles with mental health, but after alarming incidents and dishonesty, I ghosted her for my own well-being. My name is Jane, 30, and I became friends with Brandy, 26, at work. We connected quickly over our experiences with mental health and our upbringing. Throughout our discussions, she revealed her family's history of bipolar disorder and her past suicide attempts. I could relate to much of what she shared, as I myself live with bipolar Roman II disorder. We have maintained a close friendship for approximately 2.5 to 3 years. After being friends for a little over a year, I felt she was genuinely starting to open up and reveal her true self. However, I began to observe some concerning behavior. For instance, she confided that she was sexting and communicating with her ex-boyfriend while living with her long-term partner of 4 years. She had broken up with him multiple times since we met, but continued to lead him on, giving him false hope of reconciliation while living with him since his family owned the house, and she was paying minimal rent. During this period, she experienced a severe mental breakdown and underwent an intense episode of psychosis, resulting in her being admitted to a mental health facility. During her stay, her ex-boyfriend and family, whom she had described to me as toxic and terrible, were very involved in supporting her. After her discharge, I attempted to provide her with support in the best way I could. She received a diagnosis of bipolar I disorder, but refused to accept it. She insisted that she was fine and that nothing was wrong. She believed her admission was unnecessary and traumatic, claiming it was solely due to a lack of sleep. Moreover, she also mentioned that several days into her stay, she had been wandering the facility completely naked. I knew she had begun a new medication regimen and encouraged her, based on my own experience, to give it a chance. I shared how a diagnosis and medication had saved my life. Fast forward a year, and while we are still relatively close, she continues to resist her diagnosis and medication, asserting that she does not need them. She has also presented more red flags, such as breaking up with her boyfriend for the 3rd time since we became friends. When he began dating someone a month or 2 later, which she had encouraged, she professed her love for him and expressed a desire to reunite, although he did not reciprocate her feelings. During this time, she dated someone for 3 months, professing her love for him repeatedly, while telling me she had no feelings for him. After they broke up, when he expressed his lingering love for her and a wish to reconcile, she coldly told him that she had never loved him and insisted that he leave her alone. She even sent me a screenshot of her message, laughing when sharing it. She also attempted to kiss a mutual girlfriend of ours, who had clearly only been a friend. Additionally, she became excessively drunk at a concert I drove us to, which was hours away. She let her phone die and wandered off while I was speaking with another friend. I had to locate her in the dark and return her to our seats, where she soon vomited, forcing me to spend the first half of the concert in the restroom comforting her. I recognize that people can overindulge sometimes, and I am willing to assist someone I care for in that state. However, given everything else going on, it was quite frustrating since we ended up leaving early. A couple of weeks later, we attended another concert together, and she complained loudly about how terrible it was and expressed her desire to leave. Ultimately, we departed before the headlining act and went to dinner, where she complained loudly about an autistic adult using an iPad with the volume on. We were in an Applebee's, and it was not overly loud. During that dinner, she confessed to distributing cannabis edibles at work in front of a supervisor. After that dinner, my husband voiced his concern that she was not acting like the Brandy he had initially met. He felt she was being quite rude and disrespectful regarding the iPad situation and was directly unkind to him. My husband is one of the kindest, most patient, and loving individuals I have ever known, so his concerns reinforced my own feelings. This was not someone I wanted to spend time with. Being selfish and disrespectful to others is one thing. While I was unhappy about it, I still cared for her, but being unkind to my husband was simply unacceptable. I resolved to discuss all of this with her the next time we were together in person. About a week later, she finally moved out of her ex-boyfriend's residence. One afternoon, I received a call from her, and fortunately, I was at home sick from work. When I answered, it was evident she was unwell or not herself. She was saying disturbing and nonsensical things like wanting to remove her meat suit. Naturally, I was very concerned. I called her ex-boyfriend and her sister and immediately drove to her apartment. Witnessing her in such a state was frightening, and some of the things she said were haunting. I managed to get her father there, and after getting some food into her, I felt comfortable leaving. Her sister later requested that I call her after I returned home. She seemed very indifferent about the entire situation, which confused me given how intense it had been. However, she then shared that she had dealt with similar incidents for years, and that Brandy had mentioned she would stop taking her medication. When Brandy and I spoke the next time, she acted as though nothing had happened and simply expressed her gratitude for my support. I, of course, communicated my concerns and how much the experience had affected me. To my dismay, she responded, saying, "Well, I'm sorry if my little art project scared you." I was baffled by her comment and realized she did not recall what had transpired. I informed her that I had spoken to her sister, who told me Brandy had said she intended to stop taking her medication. She denied that claim, stating she had merely forgotten to take her medication for 3 days, and that her therapist assured her there was nothing to worry about. This perplexed me because it was clear she barely remembered what had happened, making it impossible for her to accurately inform her therapist about the incident. After that, I chose to be more direct. I told her that I believed she was not being truthful with anyone, including her therapist, because I witnessed her behavior firsthand. It was evident that if she had any awareness of the events, she would have been more concerned. I also expressed that her recent actions were alarming. She requested specific examples, and when I provided them, she responded with bullet points, justifying her behavior or outright denying it. She then told me how hard she had worked to reach her current state, insisting she was not a threat to society and that everyone always took things from her. She lamented that she had difficulty keeping friends because it's hard to be her friend, and people constantly tell her what she can and cannot do. She expressed sadness about people only loving her momentarily and leaving when things became difficult. I conveyed that, while I truly cared about her, I needed space after our conversation because it felt unproductive. That was the last direct communication we had, and it has now been around 3 months. She has reached out to me and spoken with my husband, who informed her that I was okay but required space as I was navigating some personal challenges. During these 3 months, I have had to adjust all my medications, and my body and mental health have been struggling to cope with the changes. I have never ghosted anyone before, but after much contemplation regarding everything she has said and done, I recognized that I needed to create distance completely, as it was causing me significant anxiety and worry. I tried to be honest with her, but she consistently avoided being truthful with me or herself. After her denying her diagnosis, lying repeatedly, and her sister revealing this is a frequent issue, I understood that it would only worsen and the cycle would not break. I genuinely wanted to talk with her, but I was at a loss for words. She had been upset the last time we communicated and had not provided any genuine responses. I was uncertain how to approach the situation anymore. I did not want to tell her I did not wish to be around someone I believed was a bad friend and had imposed such a burden on my mental health, creating considerable anxiety and stress. Perhaps I should have expressed that to her, but it seemed evident she would not change and was entrenched in her perspective. Recently, she texted me, proclaiming her love for me but claiming I clearly did not care for her. She apologized, stating she was simply not good enough for me. I feel terrible about the entire situation, but after considering her actions and statements, I truly believe I did what was best for myself. I question whether this is selfish, yet it was simply too much to manage alongside my own life. Am I the antagonist? Story 2. I confronted my cousin's girlfriend about her rude behavior. She unleashed a tirade on me, and now I am iced out by them both. A bit of context. I'm a female, 24 years old, and I have a cousin who is 26 years old. We have always been close. She came out as a lesbian a few years ago, and I was the first person she confided in. She entrusted me with informing the rest of the family because she was concerned about how some of our relatives might react. My only response when she shared her news was, "I am happy for you if she makes you happy," something along those lines. English is not my first language. The girlfriend, now 19 years old, did not strike me as the best choice at that time considering the age gap, family issues, her background from a troubled neighborhood, her status as a high school dropout, and honestly, she didn't give me the greatest overall impression. However, I thought, let's keep an open mind and not be prejudiced. The girlfriend has always had issues with anger. She tends to shout everything she thinks at someone the moment she becomes slightly angry, and then expects everyone to forget it and be fine with whatever she said. My cousin has lost every single lifelong friend she ever had due to this kind of behavior, every last one of them. Some friends attempted to intervene, not only when the girlfriend shouted at others, but also when she shouted at my cousin in front of everyone, which became a deal breaker for her because they did not accept her and were meddling in matters that did not concern them. The girlfriend has no friends that last more than a couple of months because she gets rid of every friend she has, claiming they are jealous of her and try to imitate everything she does or how she dresses. The girlfriend displayed some of this attitude towards me, but I did not give it much significance as I was there for my cousin, not for her. I dealt with it. A couple of months ago, I witnessed the girlfriend shout at my cousin in a manner that was entirely unacceptable. I was bullied in school, and those bullies seemed like cotton candy compared to her, and I attempted to intervene, only for my cousin to yell at me. I then decided to distance myself from the situation. It's not that I severed all ties, but I definitely stopped inviting them to hang out. I have my friends and my brothers, so it's not as if I don't have anyone else to spend my free time with. A few weeks back, my cousin and her girlfriend contacted me regarding my cousin's birthday party. My cousin was extremely excited about going out in the city, hitting some pubs, and visiting a nightclub she had heard about. The girlfriend seemed completely on board at that moment. They asked me to inform my brothers, which I did. Although my brothers were not enthusiastic about it, they do not get along with the girlfriend, even though they are close in age, 20 and 19 years old. They agreed to return from college to attend the party. The guests included my cousin, her girlfriend, a new friend of the girlfriend, me, my brothers, and my sister-in-law. While discussing the time and place to meet, the girlfriend sent a message stating she was uncertain whether she would be able to attend. Since they live together and do everything together, my youngest brother automatically suggested rescheduling so she could join. My cousin then texted that no one seemed to care about her birthday and exited the chat. I tried to call my cousin several times, but she hung up each time. The girlfriend then messaged, "I don't care what you do. I don't give a dime about partying." That was the turning point for me because my cousin was obviously hurt, and the girlfriend seemed to literally not care. So I texted carefully to avoid sounding overly disrespectful, knowing how easily she gets angry, while still calling her out. I respectfully believe that considering it is your girlfriend's birthday party, you should care about it. Did it sound paternalistic? Probably, but I don't regret it. Someone had to say it. I then went to change before heading to my cousin's house as she continued to ignore my calls. As I was about to leave my house, I saw that the girlfriend had sent numerous audio messages to the group chat before leaving it. She also messaged my brothers and sister-in-law privately. My brothers expressed sentiments like, "Who does she think she is to talk to you like that?" While my sister-in-law advised, "Don't listen to her, you did nothing wrong." I then listened to the audio messages, and that is when everything hit the fan. Who do you think you are to assume I don't care about my girlfriend? Aren't you so smart with so many titles that you know how to read properly? I am pursuing a PhD. Through the military, but I had no idea she had a problem with that until then. You are always meddling in matters that are above your station. You should learn your place and how to speak to me. It is not the first time I have dealt with your nonsense. I then cried, deeply. Not because of the hurtful things she said to me, but because it became clear that it did not matter whether I went to my cousin's house. I was certain that by that point, the girlfriend would have portrayed me as the villain in my cousin's eyes. Neither my cousin nor I deserved this situation. I was not mistaken. Less than half an hour later, my cousin called me to confront me about how I spoke to her girlfriend and how I had tried to contact her before the girlfriend could. I attempted to clarify that I had been trying to call her well before my text or the girlfriend's audios, but she would not listen. She was also crying, which broke my heart. She ended the call with, "It's my fault for trying to celebrate something that clearly no one is happy about." I tried to call her back because she has a history of self-harm, and that raised warning flags for me. The girlfriend then called me to say that I had taken the bit between my teeth. I told her I had nothing to say to her and that if my cousin wanted to talk to me, she could do so herself. They later came to my house. I was a mess, my cousin was a mess, and the girlfriend appeared perfectly composed. The girlfriend apologized, saying she was sorry if I had misunderstood what she was attempting to convey, and that I could not blame her for her reaction. I informed her that I could absolutely do that, as being angry could explain the reaction, but does not excuse it. She should learn to live with the consequences of her words. I told both of them that I would not apologize for something I meant every word of and took time to craft so that I wouldn't provoke her. It would not be fitting because I felt no remorse for what I said. They then left in a somewhat happy mood that I truly do not understand. Was the girlfriend pleased to prove that I was the villain? I do not know. The girlfriend created a new group chat to organize a small gathering for the evening we had originally planned, not a night out, but just to blow out the candles and spend time together. My brothers wanted to send her to the moon, but I persuaded them to simply join in for our cousin. I offered to bake a cake. The girlfriend asked us for pictures of ourselves to create a video as a gift. The next day, the day before the party, she said she did not like the idea of the video and that a frame would be better, but she did not have time to go and print the pictures. So I did it. I baked the cake, purchased a frame, arranged the photos, decorated the space we agreed to meet, and even made pancakes in case anyone did not want cake, all on the same day as the party. When they arrived, neither my cousin nor the girlfriend would speak to or even look at me. My brothers left early and urged me to leave with them, but I was determined to stay so my cousin would eventually have to talk to me. Apparently, they were going out to that pub, my cousin, the girlfriend, and a friend of the girlfriend, and had not informed the rest of us until that moment. Then they invited me to join, and I declined, largely because I was exhausted, having been up since 6 a.m. to bake the cake and hadn't even showered. The friend accused me of not wanting to do enough for my cousin and making excuses. I have never been more grateful for my military training when I simply smiled at him and replied, "Well, that is your opinion." Since then, I have noticed that the girlfriend has removed me from all her social media accounts, which I find both amusing and incredibly childish, considering she has also eliminated my brothers but not my sisters-in-law. Although my cousin remains civil with me, the girlfriend avoids my gaze and gives me the silent treatment. It makes me wonder if I should simply apologize and be done with it so that the girlfriend cannot use my lack of apology against me in the future for the sake of my relationship with my cousin, rather than because I believe I did something wrong. Did I do something wrong? My brothers and friends support me, but they would likely back me even if I committed a serious crime, so they might be biased. Story 3. My 23M boyfriend cheated, lied, and hid things from me, 20F, during our 9-month relationship. My boyfriend and I met during our time at university. He is Muslim and quite religious, while I am Hindu and not particularly religious. He is originally from this city and lives with his family near campus, whereas I moved here from another state to pursue my studies and currently reside in a female-paying guest accommodation nearby. We are both enrolled in a 5-year law program and are currently in our 4th semester, attending the same classes. He does not prioritize education, while I take it very seriously. I consider myself conventionally attractive, whereas he does not share the same view. Financially, he is not well off, while I come from a prosperous family. He is an extroverted person, and I lean more towards being an introvert. Initially, he was my first friend at this college, and we had a good friend group until jealousy and misunderstandings disrupted our relationship. We stopped communicating for about 3 months, but on an unexpected day, we talked and resolved our issues. Shortly after, we began spending more time together, feeling an undeniable tension between us. This led to us sharing a kiss in his car after some light flirting, and we became intimate shortly thereafter. Our relationship deepened, with us meeting daily, going out, and even expressing our love for one another without any commitment. 2 months later, he officially asked me to be his girlfriend in a romantic manner, taking me to a lovely restaurant, presenting me with flowers, and giving me a ring in his car while promising everlasting love and marriage. From that point, our relationship was relatively positive. He showed great care and affection, treating me with kindness and always being attentive to my needs. He would often feed me by hand, even in public, and was quick to offer help whenever I was unwell or injured, taking great concern in applying medicine and checking up on me. Honestly, I had a difficult childhood marked by my parents' separation and their neglect, which left me yearning for true love that I had never fully experienced despite past relationships. I truly believe he is my first love, as I had never been treated in such a way before, leading me to naturally fall for him. Throughout our time together, we spent nearly every day together, fostering a deep connection through laughter and resolving conflicts. Living alone in a paying guest accommodation without family or friends, I found myself increasingly dependent on him, often calling him and becoming somewhat clingy. He exhibited similar clinginess, albeit to a lesser extent. He faced significant family financial issues, including car and house loans, and his sister recently eloped to Dubai. These financial struggles created a difficult home environment, prompting me to encourage him to join me for outings to help divert his focus from these worries. I do acknowledge my selfishness at times for not fully understanding his situation and often desiring his affection, but he was my only support during that period. Since we lacked a social circle, he attempted to introduce friends for me. However, they all seemed to take advantage of him due to his possessions and expressed jealousy towards our relationship, making demeaning comments disguised as jokes. I recognized their envy because I had qualities such as intelligence, looks, wealth, and what I considered a perfect boyfriend. I often had to remind him that they were not good individuals, and eventually they distanced themselves, leaving just the two of us again. At the end of each semester, I returned to my hometown, only to come back when a new semester begins. My first return in June was particularly tough for both of us as we deeply missed each other. As the new semester commenced, he did not prepare for any exams, failing to pass even one. He had previously left another college due to his academic struggles, and although he failed the initial semesters here, I motivated him to study through our third semester, during which he finally passed all his classes, filling me with pride and happiness. Having never been in a truly committed relationship before, I was unaware of the expectation to share my phone with my partner. However, I eventually gave it to him after some hesitation. We also had each other's Instagram and Snapchat accounts. Approximately 2 days before my birthday, he discovered my Twitter account and assumed I was interacting with other men. I acknowledge my mistake in concealing that I only used Twitter to view adult content and not for communication. Surprisingly, he remained calm the day after and treated me wonderfully on my birthday despite his financial challenges, covering expenses for dinner, gifts, and inviting 3 of our classmates. I believed him to be perfect and incredibly considerate, leading me to consider converting to his religion and marrying him. I had never received such kindness before, causing me to adopt a more feminine demeanor and a fondness for feminine attire. He brought out a softer side of me. However, everything changed when I returned home in December and came back in January. I discovered he had created 15 fake Instagram accounts to message girls and 2 more on Snapchat. This infuriated me, prompting me to add guys to my Snapchat and exchange messages for a few days, an act I informed him about beforehand. I engaged in these interactions openly in front of him, but I found them unsatisfactory and removed those contacts after he requested I do so. We reconciled after he assured me of his commitment to my feelings. Nonetheless, a week later, I learned something that devastated me. The girl from our birthday party, whom I had spoken to, became an unexpected source of betrayal. She revealed conversations with my boyfriend from December while I had been away for winter break. These exchanges were intimate and inappropriate, revealing his flirtations along with romantic declarations, despite him later claiming he only did it to entice her. She played along, enjoying the attention from someone else's partner. My heart shattered upon this revelation. I called him, demanding to meet, and in a fit of rage, I slapped him multiple times. He became furious, feeling unjustly treated and defended by his close friend, who chastised me for my actions. He initially blamed me, asserting that he struggled to trust me, but eventually admitted to his mistakes and promised to change. I reached out to his former partners and acquaintances, discovering that he had a history of similar behavior and had been engaging with numerous girls across various platforms. These revelations emerged when I contacted everyone he had interacted with during our relationship. Both he and I have our anger issues, where I often lash out while trying to govern my reactions, but he tends to become defensive. Every time I attempted to confront him about my hurt, he would deflect and express annoyance, leading me to refrain from discussing my feelings. He has apologized multiple times, voicing his commitment to change because of his love for me, which I felt was genuine throughout our relationship. However, I am haunted by the possibility of him reaching out to other women again, as it appears to be his coping mechanism for his struggles. He reached out to other girls while I expressed my intention to leave him during my pain. Now, I find myself at a crossroads. He has treated me better than anyone else has in my life, yet he has also caused me deep pain. I've resorted to smoking as a means of coping with my emotional turmoil. He has encouraged me to quit smoking and inspired me to focus on my education, which has positively transformed my life. Without him, I feel utterly alone and aimless, slipping back into a state of academic failure like in my earlier semesters. We uplifted each other, and the thought of reverting to my former self and being without him terrifies me, yet I fear repeating this cycle of betrayal. He insists that he will never hurt me again and is visibly affected whenever he sees me in distress. I am torn, knowing that I should end this relationship, but the hope that he might truly change lingers. He has significantly improved my life and academics, and I dread the loneliness that would come from separating. My current state is dire, as I'm not eating well, sleeping poorly, or attending classes, leading to immense misery. Story 4. I moved cities, built a bond, co-facilitated events, then faced a shocking friendship fallout. Now my kids miss their camp. Devastated. This is a lengthy narrative, so I will do my best to summarize it effectively. It's a complex situation, and I'll aim to convey it as clearly as possible. I relocated to a new city immediately after losing my primary support and mother figure. Feeling vulnerable and disoriented, I sought a sense of community, empathy, and hope. I encountered a woman who organized programs that resonated deeply with my values, and I admired her, viewing her as an unspoken mentor. Over the years, we developed a strong bond. Our children also formed a connection. One of her kids is my eldest daughter's closest friend. I have known her youngest since infancy, and she has been acquainted with my youngest even before birth. We grew closer during the pandemic, a challenging time for her as she faced a serious health crisis. I feared for her life and realized how much she and her family meant to me and mine. Our families continued to strengthen their ties. We celebrated birthdays together, attended firework displays, shared experiences watching the eclipse, and conducted workshops at her farm. We hosted summer camps that filled my heart with immense joy. My youngest regarded her husband as an uncle, while my husband gradually let down his defenses, despite having a history of trauma and protective barriers. Even our dogs became good friends. We actively practiced nonviolent communication, which profoundly transformed my perspective on the world and the way I interact with others. She was well-versed in these methods, and I often felt like her student, learning so much from her. I never kept track of contributions. While my family expressed some concerns, they did not know her well. I dedicated a significant amount of my time and effort to support her career, teaching her children alongside my own as we homeschooled. I willingly offered my artistic services without expecting payment, as I wholeheartedly believed in her mission. I cared for her animals when she was away, helped organize and plan, listened to her, and supported her endeavors. My sole desire was for her to succeed, and I communicated to her and others that my reward was simply the privilege of being involved. This past summer, she invited my family to spend a week at her cottage, which holds great significance for her. It was a big step, as she had never hosted a family there before, and it felt monumental for us as well. I was understandably reluctant, worried about setting unrealistic expectations for my children. After she faced an unfortunate flooding incident, I offered to postpone the visit to the following year, sensing a slight change in her demeanor. However, I reached out and checked in, believing we were okay again. Still, I wanted to provide her with a no-pressure option, in case it felt overwhelming. She insisted she was excited to have us, so we went and had an amazing time. Our families connected beautifully, even in close quarters, and it was a delightful experience for everyone. She later asked for my assistance in organizing a significant fall event at her farm, as she was networking and receiving encouragement to hold more events quickly. I was fully engaged. We began planning in May for an event scheduled in October. She was aware of my level of commitment, as I was eager about the exposure it could bring to her farm and her life. I was genuinely enthusiastic. I clarified my role, which involved creating installation pieces for display, and I was beyond excited. I started working on this at the end of August. As time passed, I noticed considerable changes in her attitude, realizing that committing to something so substantial must have been intimidating for her. I understood that she was facing financial difficulties, and though she did not provide a budget for our small team, I endeavored to reduce costs as much as possible. I thrifted materials, created items on my own, and reused whatever I could. Unexpectedly, her focus shifted to another program she wanted to pursue, consuming most of her time and planning efforts. As the days went by, she failed to communicate effectively with me or the team about her feelings, thoughts, or intentions. I consistently checked in with her regarding every creation I developed, ensuring alignment with her vision. I reached out whenever I sensed something was off, and she provided reassurances that I trusted. Tensions escalated when I offered feedback on a project as tactfully as I could, concerned about how it might affect ticket sales and her overall revenue. My sole intent was her success. She reacted negatively to my feedback and withdrew. I clearly expressed my difficulties in connecting and communicating with her, but I received no response. Later, we participated in an online team meeting that I regretted attending, as I felt frustrated, fatigued, and bewildered by her decision-making and lack of communication. I chose to mute myself unless prompted for input. During the meeting, she confronted me in front of our two teammates, catching me off guard and embarrassed by her portrayal of me. I had never witnessed this side of her before. She used an almost childlike tone and seemed to frame me in a somewhat abusive manner. I was taken aback and struggled to articulate my intent, tripping over my words and having difficulty forming coherent sentences. She ultimately described me as mean, which hurt deeply, prompting me to think, forget it, and log off. That moment marked the most heated exchange we've ever had, leading to her refusal to meet in person to discuss matters she prefers communication through messaging, which makes me uncomfortable, as so much can be misinterpreted without tone, body language, or facial expressions. She has severed our friendship and denied my request for clarity regarding the situation. Although she insists on maintaining light conversations due to our overlapping social circles and the involvement of our children in extracurricular activities, I struggle with small talk and find it disingenuous. She is highly sensitive to public perception and likely wants to avoid appearing to contradict her principles. She claims to continue supporting our children's friendship. This has disrupted our lives significantly. She informed me that I am not welcome to co-facilitate the summer camp this year, although my children can still attend. I requested that she reconsider, as I truly enjoy the camp and the opportunity to spend time creating alongside the kids. She did not respond. She removed me from the email list, but sent information about registration to my brother, as my niece had previously attended. I told my eldest daughter that camp would not take place this summer, and she has been incredibly understanding and sensitive to my emotions. However, this has profoundly impacted her, and she has shown great consideration for my feelings. She expressed understanding, and I know she comprehends the situation, yet camp held special significance for her. My youngest, who has pathological demand avoidance, cannot participate in programs for extended periods. Camp was the one place where she felt comfortable and secure. She does not grasp what is happening, or why we are no longer visiting their home or the farm, and the thought of her missing out on the only immersive experience she has during the summer has left me devastated. Consequently, I put aside my pain and enrolled both children in a week of a camp that I helped shape and run but am unwelcome at, organized by a woman whom I feel has exploited me and discarded me without a hint of compassion. I just paid her $700, and I feel terrible. My children are excited, and my eldest feels a sense of relief, which I can see, but she is also aware of how challenging this is for me. She is too intuitive not to sense it. Financially, I have struggled, and in the past, I managed to let my children attend the camp without payment since I was facilitating. The entire situation is painful. Clearly, there is much more to this story that remains unsaid, but it's already quite lengthy. I do not expect anyone to provide a comprehensive assessment of everything, but I am seeking any insights that might help me understand what transpired, as it is weighing heavily on me. Thank you, everyone. Story 5. Am I the a-hole for cutting off a friend because of how she acted while going through something? I, 25F, used to have a friendship with Alicia, 22F. Our friendship lasted roughly 6 months. Although she was far from the ideal friend, she seemed relaxed and enjoyable to spend time with, and we connected well. During a challenging period in my life, she even offered me a place to stay with her. However, a few months after we met, things began to shift when she learned that her father had cancer and did not have much longer to live. As I mentioned, Alicia was never flawless, but her behavior drastically changed after receiving the news about her father's health. She would become angry over trivial matters, and seemingly anything could trigger her outbursts. Anyone, especially myself, would be met with her wrath if they said or did anything disapproved by her, or if she perceived it as an offense, or if they failed to fulfill her wishes. She would also lash out at me if I sided with someone else against her, particularly when she was clearly in the wrong. Alicia would manipulate and lie to others to get them to do things for her, and then blame me if the outcome was not favorable. I endured a great deal from her, but I made an effort to remain patient and understanding of her circumstances, primarily because I was dating her brother at the time and aimed to maintain peace. For instance, when her brother went to join the military, she constantly encouraged me to cheat on him and sleep with other guys. This even included her bringing over 2 men to engage in a threesome. One of them approached me, began to grab me, and tried to pull me toward him. I shouted at him to back off, which he did. After their departure, he apologized, stating that Alicia had told them that we would be teaming up on them for a foursome. In another incident, she invited her ex-boyfriend to stay with us after he encountered some legal trouble. The astonishing aspect is that this is the same ex she publicly claims abused and cheated on her during their 4-year relationship. I warned her that this was a poor choice, especially since I had history with him. We had hooked up a few times long before I met her, and I had disclosed this to her upon learning he was her ex. Nevertheless, she dismissed my concerns and insisted he stay, stating, "That's my ex and I need to support him." She ultimately ejected me from her home because one day, after going out, she returned to find me in the shower. According to her, he was on the bed with a condom on the floor, and since she knows him better, she assumed we had slept together while she was away. I must clarify that I did not engage in intimate relations with him while he was living there. The most ironic part is that shortly after he arrived, she ended up sleeping with him and contracted chlamydia, so had I been with him, I would have likely contracted it as well. Throughout this ordeal, she also had another boyfriend. After I distanced myself from her, she and her ex had a physical altercation, resulting in him being thrown out. When I returned to collect my belongings, she shared the details of the incident. Instead of being supportive, I inadvertently upset her by saying, "I told you so." She even attempted to place blame on me for not stopping him when I had seen him approaching her house earlier that day. Her behavior did not improve. She continued to become upset over trivial matters, picking fights with me, calling me names, and labeling me a fake friend whenever I disagreed with her. She would also gossip about me to others before inviting me around them afterward. Unfortunately for her, once people got to know me and recognized that she was the issue, they began to confide in me and chose to spend time with me instead. Sadly, a few weeks later, her father passed away. At this juncture, I began to distance myself from her slowly. I tried to be supportive, but she made it challenging. One example occurred when I didn't have my phone, and she allowed me to use hers. An ex-boyfriend from high school, whom she still kept in touch with, called to express his condolences after hearing about her father. She wasn't present, so I answered since I didn't recognize the number and thought it might be important. The following day, she called me, furious and calling me names, accusing me of trying to flirt with her ex. I explained what had happened, but she refused to believe me and insisted that he would never lie to her. I urged her to check the call log to see the truth, but soon after, I hung up and stopped communicating with her. Whenever she would act this way, she would later apologize, acknowledging her behavior but blaming it on her stress regarding her father's situation. Months later, I relocated to California to focus on improving my life. Occasionally, Alaisha would text me asking when I would return and expressing how much she missed me and our time together. I consistently tried to keep my responses brief, hoping she would understand my disinterest, but it became clear she did not. Finally, after a few weeks, I sent her a message stating, "Hi Alaisha, I am writing to convey my deep disappointment and to let you know that I can no longer consider us friends. Your consistent actions of laziness, dishonesty, and selfishness have caused me significant pain. Your disregard for my feelings and lack of accountability for your actions have fostered an environment of negativity in our friendship. Additionally, the behavior of your grandmother Thelma and brother Kenny has contributed to this decision. Thelma's rudeness towards me and Kenny's inappropriate behavior have both been unacceptable and have further diminished my respect for you and your family. I realize this may come as a surprise, but I believe this is the best choice for my well-being. I deserve friendships grounded in mutual respect, honesty, and support." Her reply was, "Well, I apologize, but you know I have been dealing with things. I do not understand why you felt the need to send such a lengthy message as though it is a big deal." I responded, "It is significant to me. Going through tough times does not justify your behavior." She said, "If that's how you feel, then fine." I replied, "I'm glad that's settled." Having never lost a parent myself, I cannot comprehend the depth of her pain, and I never felt it was my place to instruct her on how to cope. However, I felt more like a punching bag than a friend. I genuinely believe I haven't done anything wrong, but perhaps I am overlooking something. I seek some outside opinions, so am I the antagonist?